In the beginning of the story, a man whose name was Hiroto introduces himself to the girl named Toko as a new father of the family. The father thought the sudden news must have brought mixed emotions to Toko, since it's weird for a stranger to suddenly introduce himself as your new father, but he reassures her that he'll be a good father figure. Surprisingly, Toko accepts the new father into the family with the hopes of getting along. Later, inside the apartment, Hiroto joined his wife Miyako to prepare the dinner. It's been a month since they married, but they lived happily up to that point. After their daughter Toko finished her assignment, she got hungry and asked if they're going to have curry for the day. The reason for a new father was because of her late father, who passed away when she was in her second year of high school. Toko snuck herself in between her parents and pointed at how her father used the knife in a weird way, so she took it from his grasp and showed him how a master does it. As Hiroto smiled at her, he was a bit bothered by girls like her, but it turns out that he was just worrying a bit too much. Before he got married, he used to devote himself on a 9-to-5 job and was really miserable. But by the time he reached his 30s, his boss appointed him on so much work that it put him through so much stress that it wasn't normal at all. I mean, look at this guy, he looks so washed up. When he was still alone in his apartment, he got a call from his mother, checking up on him if he's doing well, and told him that his classmate Kobayashi got married recently. His mom asked him when he'll get married, but Hiroto was at the moment of considering things. Presently, Miyako notices that her husband has found himself daydreaming while they cook, so she suspects that he might be thinking of another woman. As he brushes it off, knowing in the end, Hiroto lived in peace as a father, all because of his wife and daughter. Unfortunately for this moment, Miyako realizes that they've run out of curry, so Hiroto quickly thought that he'd go buy them some. Since it was dark outside, he wanted to go get curry himself, but his wife insisted she'd go herself because the store was only close by. As she left the house, Hiroto felt nothing but unexplainable anxiety. Then his daughter called for him and invited him to game with her a bit while they waited for her mother. She quickly grabbed his arm and pulled him to the couch, but at the same time, Hiroto sensed something unusual. As they played together, Toko rested her shoulders on her father. Hiroto realized that his daughter's been trying really hard to spend as much time with her father and thought that Miyako might not have been giving her that much attention. Hiroto jumped back as soon as he touched her. He told himself he was just being overdramatic, so he played it cool. Toko went in silence for a moment, but she quickly lifted her spirits and challenged her father in a 1v1 battle in their game. Hiroto accepted it, and from there, they continued gaming. Toko took a glance at her father and smiled as she easily beat him in somewhat a game that kinda looks like ballsack Tetris. After the game was over, Toko got super happy and hugged her father's arm really tight as she mocked him by calling him noob. The hug was so intimate that he got really uncomfortable, so he quickly pulled his arm away from her in order to protect his reputation. Hiroto reminded her that she's already in high school, so she shouldn't be so clingy to him. Toko got on all fours and made a concerned look on her face as she asked him why. She continued to get really close to her father's space as he also leaned away slowly, feeling very creeped out by her. Before her daughter could do anything worse, their moment was cut short after her mother finally returned with the curry. As Toko joyfully runs to her mom, Hiroto was left on the couch with an uncontrollable breath. Later, as Hiroto finishes preparing the dinner, his wife and daughter are busy having quality time with each other. Knowing that Toko's father had passed away, it was obvious that she'd feel really lonely. Even her mother, Miyako, tends to sleep a lot, so there wasn't anyone else to pamper her. Or maybe he was just overthinking it. While they were eating together, Miyako and Hiroto asked Toko about her school and if she still played soft tennis. She nodded and said she still has some old friends from the tennis club. Reassuring both of her parents, she invited them to watch her play in the sport, but her father was hesitant. Miyako looked happy and wanted her husband to come along as long as it doesn't bother with his work, but was unsure herself due to her current condition. All of a sudden, their quality time was quickly interrupted after a phone rang, so she went to pick it up. While she answered the phone, Toko grabbed her father's attention and told him that she didn't mind if he'd come to watch her play instead, since there's a ton of girls who usually prefer to call their boyfriends to watch them. Hiroto was nervous in his seat, but he gladly accepted her request anyway. Late into the conversation, Miyako comes back wondering what they were talking about, but Toko kept it secret from her. While she stood by, Toko crossed her legs in between her father's space, saying that they're really getting along with one another. But for Hiroto, he didn't know what was going on inside her head, but could only feel discomfort when she said those words. Inside their bedroom, Hiroto and Miyako were just about to take some rest, but he wanted to discuss things with her first. As soon as he's about to tell his issue, she cuts him off, telling him that she knew suddenly becoming a father was going to be a hassle to him. Hiroto quickly corrected her assumption, as it's not the case for him at all, and told her that he was truly happy that he married her. He hugged her tightly in his arms and told her that she and his daughter are very dear to him. Miyako found a deep connection with his words and was glad to hear all of it. As they began snuggling with each other, Toko was eavesdropping on her parents doing the deed just outside their room. What a freak! The next day, Hiroto finds himself bored at work when all of a sudden his work buddy Sasaki comes in and startles the heck out of him. He wanted to check up on him first and remind him that it was already lunchtime. He then invited his friend to go along with him to eat during their lunch break. At their lunch table, Hiroto laid out his best meal prepared for him. He explains that the homemade lunch was prepared by her own daughter. Sasaki was upset, telling him that even his own wife won't even prepare one for him, and refused to do so when he asked her. Hiroto wanted to thank Toko, since she went to all the trouble to make her father some lunch. Sasaki compliments Hiroto's wife and daughter about their good looks, but Hiroto couldn't recall a time when he showed him a picture of them. Sasaki was envious of Hiroto since he can live with such beauties and reckons they have a lot of happy accidents. Hiroto had enough of his bullshit as he slammed his cup on the table. He made it clear to Sasaki that he would never do such a thing to his own daughter since she's just a high schooler and she's got a future ahead of her. It's his duty to protect her, so thinking of anything indecent about a child is nothing short of disgusting. His friend backed off, clearly uncomfortable, and told him he was only kidding. Later, as he took the train, Hiroto thought about what he'd said. He had gotten close to Toko once, and it had made his heart race, thinking he must do better to become a proper father. Hiroto eventually comes back home, but he finds no one currently present in the room. When he sat on the couch, he was met with a surprise when Toko caught him off guard and covered his eyes. Hiroto got sweaty as he turned to see that his daughter was left in the house. He catches his breath right after and asks her where Miyako was. Toko informs him that she won't be coming back right now because she's still in the clinic waiting in line. But now that it's just them at home, Toko gets on top of Hiroto and slowly undresses him. During a moment of discomfort, Toko slows down for a moment and takes a whiff of her father's scent. Hiroto got a hold of himself and pulled his daughter away from him. He wondered why his daughter was acting weird while he steadily caught his breath. Then, Toko asked him if it was bad for a father and daughter to get close. Hiroto told her that there was nothing wrong with it at all, but for some reason, Toko vividly knew about last night when Hiroto and Miyako were doing the lovemaking. A large shadow, displayed as an influx of emotions, quickly grew behind Hiroto as he wondered how she even heard them that night, even though they did it quietly. Hiroto clenched his fist and apologized to Toko for making her uncomfortable that night. He told her that they're family, and there are certain lines that shouldn't be crossed, but that doesn't mean they can't be close. Hiroto's fatherly advice was suddenly cut off when Toko started sobbing. She tears up, explaining that everything she did was for her father's affection since she was very lonely. Toko begged her father to not leave her and her mother. Hiroto, feeling bad about what he did, realizes that she was just lonely. He apologizes to Toko and reassures her that he won't leave since he wants to spend time with both of them, so he can become a proper father for Toko and a proper husband for Miyako. Toko held her father's hands and requested him to hug her. Hiroto was still uneasy about their physical contact, but he agreed to his daughter's request nonetheless. Toko hugged her father tightly, and Hiroto hugged her back. He realized that he still has a long way to go to become a proper father figure for Toko, but he'll try his best to become one for their family. While this wholesome thought relieves Hiroto, Toko whispers to her father that she'll become a good girl just for Hiroto while she smiles cunningly, like a predator who's successfully lured a prey into a trap, waiting to partake in its ripe flesh. What kind of sweet words lie further beyond her smile? Inside the classroom, a young student, Kato, lay dormant in his seat while he locked his eyes on Toko in front of the class. She saw her smile right as she was talking with her friend, but suddenly a girl behind his seat broke off the moment asking him why he was staring at Toko. This girl, Honda, insists that he should just give up on her before it's too late. Kato pretended that he wasn't staring at her, but she could already tell by the look on his face. She knew Toko ever since high school, and there were countless other boys who confessed to her, but were all rejected. Honda eventually leaves him alone, advising him to give up, but for Kato, he wasn't going to give up that easily. Honda walks up to Toko asking her to come to the tennis club, but she couldn't come along for now, as she needed to pass some paperwork before she could go. Later in the changing room, Honda asked Toko if she had a crush on anyone. Toko, feeling unsure, said she didn't have anyone in mind right now. Honda nudged her with her elbow and teased her, asking what kind of guys she liked. Toko didn't have anyone in mind, but if she had to choose, it would be her dad. Honda was muddled when she heard Toko's reply, but all of a sudden her clubmates popped out of nowhere and flooded her with questions after she brought up the topic about love interests. Honda got irritated and told the rest of them to leave them immediately. Later, as Kato walked down the hallway, he glanced out the window and saw that the weather had turned nasty. He wondered if the girls would still be playing tennis. He headed to his teacher's office to hand out some prints for him. His teacher took the prints, then asked if Kato was going to the tennis club later. When he affirmed, his teacher scratched his head. He was just planning to tell everyone to go home early because it was about to rain, but he forgot to tell anyone. So he asked Kato to do an errand for him instead. Kato hesitated for a second since the girls just got there right now, but his teacher begged him, so he finally agreed and left the room. At the tennis court, the club members were missing a score sheet, so Toko volunteered to go get it for them. Kato hustled across the building, trying to beat the rain. On the other side of the quad, Toko was about to go to the clubroom when she ran into Kato. As the clouds started to rumble, Kato blurted out that club activities were canceled due to the rain. Toko stuck her hand out to feel if it was raining yet, but seconds later, the rain came down in buckets, soaking them both to the bone. The both of them take shelter to avoid getting wet from the rain. While they idly stood by each other waiting for the rain to stop, Kato glances to the side and notices that Toko's wet clothes emphasized her silhouette. As a way to distract his mind from the dirty thoughts, he immediately tries to think of a topic that they can talk about. He starts off with a trivial conversation about their club activities, explaining that he was asked by the teacher to notify the other clubs that the activities are currently canceled due to bad weather. Toko compliments Kato's enthusiastic side on wanting to help others. This caused him to get flustered, which led to Kato complimenting all the good sides of Toko. Kato, realizing that he had done it, obviously got his signal noticed by Toko. As a way to respond to this, she proceeded to question if Kato liked her, which put him under pressure. He tried to play it off as a silly question, but his response almost made Toko lose interest. But then he decided to man up, as he realizes that it's now or never. The girl you like is in front of you. So he earnestly tells Toko that he indeed likes him since they're both the same classmates and club members. So he reassures Toko that he'll always be there for her troubles. Toko just thanked him after being sincerely confessed to. Wow. Her response kind of disheartened Kato, but he still tried his best to keep the conversation going as a way to not lose hope. And finally, he asked the real question. Kato asked Toko if there's anyone that she likes. Toko, being the sly woman that she is, blushed, smiled, and said that she's indeed in love with someone else, implying that she doesn't need anyone as long as she has that person. Her answer made Kato realize that it was all over. F's in the chat, boys. Fortunately, Honda was there to save the day. She advises Kato to keep their conversation between them a secret, and left him disheartened as he watched Toko leave. Inside the classroom, he wonders about who Toko likes since she seems to be love-struck with the person. Kato decided to go home and let out a sigh, wondering how she would look at Toko next week since it's going to be awkward. In the school lockers, Kato notices Toko pass by him and blurts out her name accidentally, causing her to notice him. As a way to not make it awkward, he questions Toko if she forgot her umbrella since he got a spare one in his bag which she can use. Toko tells him that it's all right since she's waiting for someone to pick her up. And here we go, ladies and gentlemen. It's the one and only Hiroto, who can be seen walking towards the school's entrance with a spare umbrella in his hand, just for Toko. After patiently waiting for her dad, she cheerfully rushes towards him and gets under the umbrella, telling her dad that the both of them can just stay under one umbrella. As the both of them walk off, Kato was surprised to see that Toko's father was quite young, but suddenly he remembered his conversation with Toko from back then and refused to believe that the person she liked was her father. But upon seeing her joyful smile like no other from afar, he realized that she was not kidding. "Don't worry, bro. Don't fuck with no crazy like that, you heard me." After they got home, they were all drenched from the rain, and suddenly, Miyako undressed her wet clothes and requested her father to wipe her, revealing a massive gaping hole in her torso. Huh. Never knew she was a hollow. I hope she knows that she's in the wrong manga. Hiroto gets startled and wakes up from the nightmare while her daughter was beside her the whole time watching him sleep. Toko asked her father what kind of dream he had, which caused her father to recoil out of surprise. She apparently came to wake her father since her father was having a nightmare. Hiroto laughs off his embarrassment to prevent the topic from dragging on. He changes the topic and tells her that she cannot go to bed half-naked like that. Toko was confused about what he meant by that. She pulls up her shirt to show that she wasn't half-naked, emphasizing her shorts, and goddamn. Never mind, let's move on. Hiroto stubs his pinky finger after getting caught off guard with his daughter's actions. Toko, immediately worried, puts a band-aid on her father's pinky finger after. Hiroto asks Toko where Miyako currently is. She told him that Miyako is currently at her part-time job, filling in someone's time at work. As a way to escape the danger zone, Hiroto excuses himself out of the bedroom, but is stopped by Toko, who was pulling his clothes. She requests her father to also put a band-aid on her pinky finger. Hiroto explains that she's not currently injured, so there's no point in putting one on. Toko thought of something, and out of nowhere, she bites the skin of her pinky finger, making her father worried and shocked. Hiroto immediately inquires why she did it. Toko didn't think anything of it, and earnestly requested her father to put a band-aid on her injured finger. Hiroto can't puzzle his head around her actions. It's as if her way of love and affection is twisted. He told her daughter to not do that kind of thing anymore since he can just put a band-aid wherever she likes. Toko laughs and reassures him that it's all right, since family shares both pain and pleasure, which was taught to her by her late father. I think he kinda cray-cray too. After the lovely interaction from father and daughter, they went to the living room to prepare some breakfast. Miyako messages Hiroto that she wouldn't make it for breakfast since she immediately had to go to work today. A normal conversation started between them, questioning Toko if she has anything to do today. She replied that she'll be free until tomorrow, so Toko, being the cunning girl that she is, takes the action to also ask her father if he has plans for today. Hiroto told her that there's none, and Toko immediately asks him out to go on a date with her. Hiroto told Toko there's no fun in bringing an old man like him on a date. She spills out the beans, explaining that she wants someone to accompany her to buy something. Hiroto realized that he got the wrong idea, and was relieved for a second. Toko was excited to get ready, so she went to dress herself up. After a while, she calls out to her father and shows off the wonderful dress she was wearing. Hiroto was stunned, and almost misspoke for a second, complimenting her daughter's appearance. They go outside, and as expected, the people wonder about them going on a date together, despite their age gap. As a father, though, he didn't care less, since the only thing that matters is her daughter's happiness. That's the meaning of family. While roaming around, he wonders about what Toko wanted to purchase. The moment Toko walked into the lingerie store, Hiroto realized that it was time to escape. Toko noticed her father's flustered reaction and knew what she was going to do next. Toko shows her father what the lingerie would look like if she wore it. She got a funny reaction out of her father from her teasing, which made her laugh. To his surprise, it wasn't the thing she wanted to buy. They get inside an antique store, and Toko looks around for a certain item, wondering if they still have it in stock. After a while, Toko found what she was looking for. It was a wooden music box. She plans to put a picture of her family inside it and give it as a present for her mother's birthday. That's so sweet. She might not be a bad person after all. Hiroto was happy and proud of her daughter for being such a good child. They bought the music box and went outside. While they continue their bonding, Hiroto requested Toko to also help her look for presents Miyako might like. As they happily enjoy their father and daughter leisure time, the panel skips to the Kardashians. Casually dressed beautiful girls who can't wait to take a sip of the new drink. The black-haired girl asks her friend, Eureka, if she wants to take a sip, which Eureka denied, since it's too many calories. She's prepping for IFBB Pro physique. Her friends just kept it to themselves since they were worried about Eureka's foul mood. She wasn't feeling herself since Eureka's mom kept pestering her about going home at a certain time, which made her annoyed. Upon glancing to the side, she notices Toko, who was linking arms with her father. Eureka saw this and smirks cunningly, realizing now's the time for a big scoop and a bit of drama since you can never go wrong with drama, right? Backstory time. Eureka can be seen viewing her Instagram, literally addicted to the notifications from people following and liking her posts. Her friends were jealous of her, resulting in Eureka's humble bragging, which was interrupted by her classmates though. Lol. The translations fucking changed. Whatever. Her classmate was asking Toko for permission to put up a video with her. It was a video of her classmates doing a dance when Toko suddenly got inside the shot, causing their previous video to go viral because of people mesmerized by Toko's beauty. Toko's classmate wondered if she had any social media accounts or whatnot, since she would definitely be famous. Toko responded by saying that she has none, since she has no idea how the social media stuff works. Upon hearing their conversation, Eureka was annoyed at how Toko acted, always keeping a fake persona at school. She excused herself from the classroom since she didn't want to see Toko. Eureka loathes her since it made her realize that she pales in comparison to everything compared to Toko, despite giving all her best. 3 years ago, at Eureka's home, she was slapped by her mother after failing to be ranked 1 on the exam. Eureka retorted to her mother, telling her that both her score and rank were higher last time. Eureka's mother had enough of her daughter's attitude and shouted out of anger, which startled Eureka. The mother, being a professional gaslighter, apologizes to Eureka and explains that she's doing all of this just for her daughter's sake. Did she really just say that? Eureka's mother advises her daughter to try more and do better since she's the only tool her mother has. After the parent-teacher conference, Eureka's mother asks her who got the first rankings in the exam. With her head down in the dumps, she points at Toko, who was inside the classroom. Her mother let out the most hurtful words a parent can say to a child. Eureka's mother wished Toko should have been her daughter instead of Eureka. Upon hearing this, Eureka cannot believe what she just heard, and it has struck her forever since. After casually spitting out the most cruel shit she had said, her mother immediately left. This resulted in Eureka loathing Toko with all of her being, every single fiber of her body in existence. If only Toko wasn't there, her throne of being the #1 girl in the class would have been for her to take, and her mother can now finally realize her efforts that she put in to get those kinds of rankings in the exam. Back to the present, after reminiscing about the past, she was met with Toko asking if she was all right. After slowly coming in touch with reality, Eureka has finally decided to take everything that Toko has taken from her. She was analyzing Toko's weaknesses ever since, but Eureka couldn't find any clues, until one day, her wish was granted. She has a photo of Toko linking arms with her father. Since her classmates don't know, they thought it was her sugar daddy or anything related. Eureka anonymously shared the photo throughout the class for Toko's social suicide, which caused a bunch of mixed reactions. Eureka triumphantly walks to the school rooftop as she imagines the scenarios that will unfold, leading to Toko's downfall, where she can take her place back as the #1. That's all for part 1 of the manga. Hope you've enjoyed it, and if you did, don't forget to comment, like, and subscribe. Have a good day y'all, and peace.